Do American parents really require their kids' teenagers to keep the doors to their rooms open? Why? This is something I keep seeing in American movies and TV. Young kids sleeping in bedrooms with their doors wide open at night. Teenagers closing the doors to their room, e.g. when they have friends visiting, just to have the parent remind them the door stays open. Parents barging in without knocking. Can someone explain this to me? Genuinely curious. It's really funny to see this. Because as a Norwegian parent, I require my teenage son to shut the door. I don't want to hear the sounds he's making while he's gaming. I actually wish he would get himself a girlfriend. My husband and I have 3 children, M22, M20, F17, and have never required or even requested that they keep the doors open. When they were really little, we kept the doors open a crack at night until we went to bed so we could check on them without risking waking them up. But otherwise, no. Everyone needs some privacy. My parents did this. We were never allowed to shut our bedroom doors without permission, even if we were asleep at night. Just trying to keep noise and light out. And my parents never ever knocked if the door was closed. My parents were very controlling. Everything and everyone in the house belonged to them, and we had to be obedient at all times. Usually it's door open when boyfriend-girlfriend is over. No. Many teens can have our doors closed. It doesn't make much of a difference if your parents have super sensitive hearing. They can hear if you try to climb out the window or do a lot of things you aren't supposed to do. My mom's a notoriously light sleeper. The only time my parents required that the door stays open was if a boy was visiting. And that was usually during the day. I never had any guy stay overnight while I was living with my parents. My kids are allowed to close their doors. Our rule is that you don't lock your door unless you need privacy changing teenager stuff. There is also a rule that a closed door is knocked on before entering. I always give my kids enough time to respond before I just open the door. Everyone deserves to have their own private sanctuary. For my parents, I'm pretty sure it's a control thing. I find it ridiculous. They barge in without knocking and even had the nerve to be upset because my new ferret cage kinda blocks the view of my bed upon immediately walking in. My room is too small to move in anywhere else. I find it disrespectful and invasive. My bedroom door also had to stay open all the time when my boyfriend was visiting. But that didn't stop shit from happening, so idic. Middle-aged American over here, solidly Gen X. Always shut my door and had it locked. Teens need privacy. Also, our child has always slept with the door closed. She can close her door anytime she wants, and she can lock her door as well. Sleeping with an open door is a fire hazard. You can see pictures of house fires with open doors versus closed. Children need privacy just like adults. My parents never cared. I always assumed it was just an easy way of showing unreasonable parents in a movie. Some parents have a control issue. My mother didn't like locked doors. Not that she'd actually knock before entering, negating the need for a lock. Nope. Our daughter is allowed to close bedroom door, especially when she's playing video games online and gets into it. My parents didn't require that of me, and neither did the parents of my relatives. I don't think it's super common. My parents had a no locks rule. We don't allow our kids to have their doors locked. But they are young and it's a safety thing. My dad mastered the simultaneous knock open. I hated it. I don't do that. Especially since I have 2 teenagers now. There are some things I don't want to see. Some parents may have a door stays open rule for when the opposite sex is over. As a professional firefighter who's seen what happens when people go to sleep with the doors open, my advice is keep your doors closed when you go to bed. It can save the lives of both you and your children. Some do, some don't. I'd venture to say most don't. My parents never liked doors being locked. One time they took the entire door to my bedroom off because I slammed it shut. No. I was allowed to close my door but not lock it. And my parents didn't ever knock. My boyfriend wasn't allowed in the house, period. Meanwhile, his mom didn't mind us being in his room with the door closed. Most of my friends lost their virginity in a car or a park, lol, but I lost mine on a bed in a safe, comfortable environment. Now we are married and his mom is still the cool one. I will say my mom put me on the pill at 15 so she knew I was sexually active. She told my dad it was for my skin. My 17-year-old deserves privacy. Plus his room is gross and I don't want to look at it. It's nowhere near normal. It's a sign of an over-controlling parent. In the context you're describing, it's usually a parent that's hyperfixated on keeping their sons, mostly daughters tbh, from having sex. My parents wanted my door open if I had friends over. That was the norm for me growing up. My parents weren't really control freaks otherwise. But the door was only closed when changing clothing or if I was going to bed when there were visitors. There was no lock either. I didn't realize it wasn't a universal rule for all households until a student exchange when I forgot to open the door after changing clothes and apologized when the host mother knocked on the door to tell me it was time for dinner. This is absolutely true for my childhood. No privacy at all. I had mine removed for 2 years because they caught me with a gram of weed at age 15. That's only some parents, and those parents have major issues. It's definitely not an American parent thing from what I've seen. It varies from parent to parent, and usually it's because some parents believe they're entitled to know what their kid is up to at all times of the day, which they are not. It's disrespectful parents who would rather control children than teach them. So, at night, all over the world, it is recommended to keep your bedroom doors closed at night in case of a fire. The closed doors make a better smoke and fire barrier than nothing at all. May also slow the fire from spreading. During the day, especially with friends over, it's doors open for the kids. Edit spelling. Maybe the fundies, we never did. 3 kids here, 20, 18, 11. They do what they want with their bedroom doors. Normally it's open door when their BFGF is over. Other than that, only really controlling parents do the open door policy. Nah, my door was always closed. My dad went on a kick for a while when I was in high school and always on FaceTime where we had to sleep at night with doors open in case of a fire. Well, that's actually not the safest way, so we said that and my dad gave up. Besides that, the only restriction I had was no girls over when my mom wasn't home, but if she was home, door would be closed and literally nothing was stopped. Nope. My kids can have the doors open or closed as they choose. Although at night it's best everyone has their door closed in case of fire. Edit fixed my sentence. It's a thing with some parents. I personally always thought it was weird and excessively controlling. My parents only required the door to be open if we were with a boyfriend-girlfriend. And always knocked before coming in. They respected my and my siblings' privacy. My girls always had the doors shut.